Hey guys, Cal's here with another video for the 3.7 Double Strike Slayer. I just wanted to go over some of the gem changes, some of the gear changes, and some of the passive tree changes that I've made. So I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to get right into it. It's going to be quick and down and dirty. One of the big changes I made was I changed the offhand setup. It's Ancestral Protector, Maim, and Dash. So it's a two-link between Ancestral Protector and Maim, and then Dash by itself. Mine happens to be linked together, but you don't have to. Long story short, I wanted a good way to apply Maim. Ancestral Protector is a good way to do it on bosses, and since we're slotting the Ancestral Protector into the build anyway because it gives us 20% more attack speed, um, it seems like a reasonable way to apply Maim on bosses. That said, I'm also running Leap Slam, Faster Attacks, Endurance Charge, and Melee Stun, Maim. So I have Maim in two places. I'm using Maim in my Leap Slam setup because it's pretty hard to apply Maim while I'm chugging through a map because I'm not going to keep dropping Ancestral Protector all the time and waiting for it to hit stuff. So Maim on Leap Slam is pretty good because I'm Leap Slamming through the whole map, and as I'm jumping on top of mobs, it has a chance to maim them and outright kill them sometimes. So that's why I'm also running it there. In the cast when damage taken setup, I've chosen to run Summon Ice Golem, cast when damage taken, Molten Shell, increased duration. So the big change here is Molten Shell. The build has a lot of armor. We have 10k almost, right? So a lot of that is due to me taking the Iron Reflexes node. I will show you now that if I have a regret orb. Do I not have a regret? Yikes, I don't have a regret. But long story short, take my word for it. Iron Reflexes gives me about 3,400 armor, something like that, alone, just this node. So it's pretty strong in terms. And we don't really benefit from our decks, right? We have such a low chance to evade anyway that it just makes sense to convert whatever evasion rating we have into armor. So that's why I took that node. And Molten Shell specifically is the reason why we're talking about armor here, is because it is you can take damage equal to 20% of your armor up to a maximum of 10,000. 20% of 10,000 is 1/5 of it, which is 2,000 damage, right? So we effectively have a 2,000 HP, which is pretty nice. It's not always the case, but you can think about it like that, and that's usually enough to stop everything from one-shotting us. It also has like a reflect, so it deals damage, but it's not so relevant, and it's not really used for that. I'm also running Precision, and I'm running Precision instead of Herald of Ash because of the Watcher's Eye mods that Precision has. Specifically, the Watcher's Eye mod, gain a flash charge when you deal a critical strike while affected by Precision. This Watcher's Eye mod is so incredibly powerful, and it's so underused right now. This makes it so that you can spam your flasks as long as you want, and you'll have them up the entirety of the map, because we're always critting, right, pretty much all the time. And we're always hitting and attacking so quickly that we just chug out flash charges. And the real advantage to this is on bosses like All and Uber Elder and some of the other deep delve bosses where the fights last a while and you have no real good ways of generating flash charges in the entirety of the fight, right, as a Slayer. So this makes it so that you can keep up those flash charges on bosses, and you can kind of I don't want to say like potato your way through a boss fight, but you can with this because it lets you get the benefits of your flasks the entire time. It basically makes you a Pathfinder. That's the changes to the gems and the gear. But we also run Precision just to cap our chance to hit, main hand chance to hit 99, offhand chance to hit 98. It's close, right? It's not 100% capped, but it's close. And that's another reason why we run Precision. It also gives us some increased critical strike chance, which is useful because we're a crit build, but largely not so relevant. That's it for the gems, and the passive tree is next. So I'm fortunate to be in a position where I deal a lot of damage and I kill bosses in a couple seconds, right? So my thinking was, why spec into more damage and things like Impale if I can just already kill stuff anyway? Things don't last more than 1 or 2 seconds. So instead of just dumping more points into damage, I chose to run up here and grab some life nodes, especially the big one right here, Heart of the Warrior, And now moving this way, I'm going to grab this node and this node. Once I start leveling, I'm only level 92, I think. Yeah, so I have 8 more passive points. I'm going to grab this node. It's another 4% max life. I'm going to grab this node, which is another 4% max life. And I'm going to grab this node, which is another 4% max life. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 5 more nodes of life. What if you consider them all 4%? It's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. More 20% more life, which is a pretty big deal, right? So with the remaining 3 points that I have there, I'll probably grab this jewel socket. I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to go with that, but that'll be the idea. I'll probably grab this life node maybe too. We'll see. I haven't completely thought about it, but that's kind of the game plan right now. So yeah, that's the changes to the passive tree. That's the changes to the gear. I guess I can go over this one last change I made. So I posted about this in the guide on the 11th, but I'll just say it here just in case people missed it. I'm no longer running vulnerability in my boot setup, right? So I need a curse, and an easy way to get a curse in is on your rings, and specifically on shaped rings, you can get Assassin's Mark, which is beneficial for this build, right? Because it gives us base crit strike chance, monsters take increased damage from critical strikes, and it gives us power charge generation, which we actually don't need because we run for rules. But I mean, if you're not running for rules, this is a good way to get power charges. And it's just an overall big DPS increase. A steel ring is the ideal base, but any ring base will do. It doesn't matter. And that's really it. For the 6-link setup, I'm still running more or less the same stuff because I'm not spec'd into Impale anymore, right? Because I don't need the extra damage, but some of you may. If you're in the position that I am, where you're already killing stuff and you don't need the extra damage, I think personally it's better to drop the Impale support entirely because you usually don't need the extra damage, which lets you drop the Impale nodes on the tree and lets you spec into more life. So overall, you'll be dealing, it's still a ton of damage, but you'll be able to slightly more tanky, and everyone knows that defense is key in Path of Exile, right? So yeah, that's that. As the 6th gem in the 6-link setup on bosses, you can swap out Melee Splash for damage on full life, or you can use Bloodlust. But if you're going to use Bloodlust, is something I'm experimenting with right now, you need to have a source of bleed damage that is not from your dude. So the easiest way to do that would be through Ancestral Protector plus Chance to Bleed support. I haven't 100% checked it out, and I'm not sure if that's what I'm really interested in, because the more multiplier here is 60%, and the more multiplier with damage on full life is relatively close to that. I think it's 50%, 55% maybe at max rank. I don't remember. So it's close enough, and there's no stipulation to it. So that's that. So yeah, that's the changes to the gear. That's the changes to the passive tree. I guess I should explain that if you do not deal a ton of damage and you do not phase bosses quickly, because you're starting out in the league, or you just haven't had the opportunity to buy into better gear, then it is reasonable for you to continue to spec into the Impale nodes, because you won't be killing bosses as quickly, so the added damage effectiveness from Impale stacking will actually outweigh any other source of damage that you could get from the passive tree. So long story short, if you deal a lot of damage, spec into life, drop Impale. If you don't deal a lot of damage, drop life, spec into Impale. That's, I think, it as far as all the changes on the passive tree go. There's no changes to the Ascendancy nodes. Those are all the same. The Pantheon's all the same. The rest of the gear is pretty much all the same. So as I go, I'll keep you guys updated on any changes I make. That's where I'm at with the build, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I did a deep delve all. I think it was like depth 400. It's not super deep, but it's just what I had on my delve chart. I did 2 Deathless Uber Elder runs, all through the Guardians and Uber Elders. I've done infinite numbers of Shapers. It's just one of the easiest fights for this build. I can't really think of any other hard fights that are really available on Standard that I haven't done. You can do all the Breachstone dudes, Chayula included. And yeah, that's really it. The build feels great. The mapping feels good. It feels relatively tanky now that I've got a lot of armor and molten shell. Um, Grabbing this node gives us +1 additional maximum elemental resistances, which is quite nice. And yeah, that's really it. The build is pretty good, pretty good. So I'll update it as I go. I don't really think that there will be any more serious changes. I think I've really nailed down how the build should play and the optimal gem links. But game plan for the future, like I mentioned before, is just to grab more life and probably grab a jewel socket. That's really it. Alright, I don't want to drag this video on. Thanks for watching. This is an update for me. It is, what day is it? It is the 21st. So that's how you guys know when this, or that's how, what am I trying to say here? The build's updated as of the 21st, right? So if you're watching this in the future, I may have made changes, but likely not. So just, check my character profile and see if anything's different. But that's it. Have a nice day. Bye.